Great work, Donald. Now Canada is ramping up its armed forces recruitment capabilities following your threats about making Canada the 51st state and calling Prime Minister Trudeau a governor and then posting photos of you in the Swiss Alps and pretending that it's Canada. Now, we previously reported here on the MeidasTouch network as well about Denmark ramping up military capabilities in Greenland after Donald Trump threatened to take over Greenland, and his former national security advisor and others close to him have reinforced that he actually wants to conquer it. All the while, Vladimir Putin in Russia is out there saying that he's not agreeable to your proposal for any type of peace deal in Ukraine, and Putin saying that you need to go to Putin with your hands out, begging Putin if you want to begin any negotiations with Putin. But Donald, I thought you said that within 24 hours of your election, you were going to stop Russia's unlawful invasion, although you didn't use those words, in Ukraine. The war is still going on. In fact, Putin has escalated. You claim you were having back-channel communications with Putin. Putin put on naked photos of Melania on Russian TV while oligarchs went on Russian state TV and talked about you having to repay favors to Vladimir Putin, and Putin claiming he's never heard from you at all, but just from what you said in Time magazine, him and Lavrov are like, we're not doing any deals with them at all. And they're saying you got to go to Putin with your hands out. So what's Donald Trump doing? Let's threaten our allies. Now our allies have to beef up their military because of the United States of America. Instead of us helping our allies with their military capabilities, they're now arming against the United States. It's utterly despicable. Shout out to Michelle Raymond for writing this article for Military Magazine in Canada. Canadian Armed Forces ramping up recruitment capabilities. In line with ongoing reconstitution priorities, the Canadian Armed Forces is now ramping up recruitment capabilities to meet strategic intake goals and fulfill operational needs. Therefore, the Canadian Forces Recruiting Group is now actively seeking motivated CAF members to take on a key role in helping to attract top talent to the military while also promoting diversity and inclusivity. So while America is going to, I guess by executive order, you're going to throw out trans members of the military and other members of the military who don't meet your vision of what a GI Joe should look like, people who are giving their lives for the country. In Canada, they're building up their armed forces with diverse candidates in response, in part, to your threats. Quote, recruiting provides the opportunity to interact with local communities, future CAF members and their families. It is a challenging, professionally rewarding, and it offers recruiters the satisfaction of making a positive contribution to the institution while supporting CAF reconstitution efforts. As part of its broader mission, it talks about CFRG is tasked with developing a steady state recruiting program to align with CAF's annual strategic intake plan to create a force that not only meets operational requirements, but also reflects the diversity of the Canadian population. They're talking about recruiting in key advisor roles, training people. So great work, Donald, that you have now Denmark beefing up its military against us, Canada beefing up their military against us. You know, when you talk about invading territory, like Greenland, you know, people like Denmark have a history of when Adolf Hitler invaded in 1940 and took over Denmark. When Adolf Hitler took his Sharpie and scribbled over the Jutlands and said, mine, we need this for our strategic purposes in World War II, we're taking over Denmark, where thousands in a powerful resistance effort in Denmark lost their lives fighting against Hitler there. They then joined NATO believing that the United States, as the leader following World War II and the broader NATO alliance, would help them because they were neutral during World War II, and neutrality brought them the invasion by Hitler. But now Donald Trump threatening them, and they've got to beef up their own army. Also, we see how Donald Trump's threats in Panama is now creating solidarity amongst nations like Mexico, and then other nations in Central America, nations in South America. We're seeing that type of sovereignty, solidarity. And where are they going to turn? They're going to turn to President Xi, whose Belt and Bridges, the Second Silk Road policy, is about investing in these nations. And when they see how you're treating them, there's a reason why President Claudia Sheinbaum of Mexico was photographed at the G20 summit meeting back in November with President Xi, when she didn't plan on meeting with President Xi before. She was sending you, idiot, a message, and the MAGA's a message, and America a message that you want to do this to us? You want to pick on us? We've got other people who can help out. We'll turn to China. Same thing with Panama. Same thing with Central American countries, South American countries. Where do you think they're going to turn when you behave in this ridiculous way? I had Charlie Angus, member of Parliament in Canada from the NDP. He was on the MeidasTouch network. Here's what he had to say about NATO. Let's play it.
The bigger issue here, instead of getting caught and responding to the trolling, is that this threat against Panama is a threat against a sovereign nation. We saw the president of Mexico speak out. The threat against Greenland was immediately countered by the prime minister of Denmark, who said that they weren't going to give up their freedoms. So we're also talking now about what will become the threat, I think, to NATO in response to, with Putin. We've known that Trump has undermined NATO numerous times, and his claim that Canada wouldn't need military protection. Well, right now, the only body or person threatening us right now is the United States under Trump. So he is playing a seriously destabilizing game, and I'm very concerned.
Charlie Angus also talked about how American media was trying to normalize Trump's conquest talk about teasing invasion. Trump's just teasing invasion. You know, other nations don't see teasing conquest of their nations as funny. Here's what Charlie Angus had to say. Let's play it.
Watching some of the response in the U.S. media, CNN stated, oh, he's just teasing. What, teasing about taking over other countries? But then they said that, hey, it'd be a great deal for America to be bigger than the Louisiana Purchase. There's no such thing as teasing when you're threatening the sovereignty of independent nations. And I think for a lot of us, we just thought Donald sort of acted like the buffoon, but he wasn't that stupid. But here's a man who, when Putin launched his murderous war in Ukraine, praised Putin, said he was savvy, said he was a genius, and he has one of his Putin trolls taking up one of the key places in his new administration. So his disregard for Ukrainian sovereignty sent, I think, a very, very chilling message. His attacks on Panama, his attacks on Greenland, his attacks on Canada are sending a message that he doesn't respect the international order in terms of the rights of nations. And we have to start taking that, I think, a lot more seriously.
And here's what Charlie Angus is saying also about the message that he's hearing from people across Canada. And this is what we're hearing across the world. People aren't afraid of you, Donald. Let's play the clip.
But the message that I'm hearing from people across Canada is they're not afraid of you because they know you're a convicted felon. They know that all the people that you bringing in to run your organization right now, and I call it an organization rather than a government, are all grifters and thieves and thugs. We got to look after our own interests right now. We will work with your country. We will work with our great neighbors. But Donald, don't push us around.
And meanwhile, Donald Trump is posting his own negotiating weakness. Trump is posting, Putin says he's ready for potential talks with Trump during year-end news conference. In other words, Putin is dictating the terms. You see what I'm saying? Putin says he's ready for potential talks on his term. And Lavrov and Putin have said America needs to come to us and make the first move and beg us. and that we won't support at all Ukraine joining NATO or making any territorial concessions. In other words, Donald Trump, you claimed to the American people you were going to solve this in 24 hours. We're not going to do that. And we're going to make you suffer complete and total capitulation. And we just think you're weak. You're out there attacking Greenland and Canada, and you're picking on Mexico, and you're picking on those countries, really? Sounds good. Go play golf, Donald. Let the big boys handle international affairs. What do you think Putin and Xi are saying about you? They know your type, Donald. They know how weak you are. They eat you for lunch, dinner, appetizers, breakfast, snacks throughout the day. Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million together.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.